Welcome along to the first CloudCamp for 2011. So without any further ado, we'll move on to our first lightning talk, and Dan from Geno.
Look, when I found out recently I had the privilege to do this power talk, I then obviously quickly started to think about what should be the subject, and going through that process, I thought about what we talked about at the last Cloud event, and obviously in the last few months I've been observing what's been written out there in the industry and published in the industry talking about cloud, and also too linking that into our own conversations that we're having here at Geno with our clients, proactively and reactively. And so where I thought I'd come to is, and this also links into a recent paper that Ben's published that I recommend you all read, which is all about moving to the cloud, in particular infrastructure. How that's substantiated now is more and more clients are talking about the cloud and becoming interested in the cloud. There's a lot of discussion out there happening in a variety of sources about the cloud, and from a service provider perspective, there are some substantial investments being made into cloud services. With regards to this power talk, I'm going to focus on four key areas. What are the drivers in the business for a client to take their current processes and workloads into the cloud? What services should they move to the cloud? What are some of the technical constraints and business constraints associated with moving those business processes to the cloud today? And provide a framework to recommend to clients about what they should be looking for from a service provider to run their cloud service. So firstly, when is moving to the cloud right for you? So recently we've seen in IDC and Gartner some very strong statements to say that cloud is now a reality, and that there's no sign that it's going back. This is the clients are recognising, I'm sure most of you will agree, is that the benefits for cloud are real in terms of the flexibility, agility, innovation, and some of the financial benefits. So given the obvious benefits of moving infrastructure to cloud, why isn't everyone doing it today? Well, the reality are there are some constraints. There's some technical constraints there too. I'm not going to get into too much detail at this point in time about public and private, multi-tenanted and dedicated. But there's some technical constraints about the maturity of the technology, which is rapidly developing with the vendors. But what that means is that the cloud is only ready to take certain workloads at this current point in time. But that will grow over time. So what does that mean? So today it's about hybrid infrastructure. And that will be the norm in reality over the years to come as service providers and vendors prove the business cases to invest in the technology and capability to take a company's full workloads and processes and infrastructure, their storage and backup and computing, and put that into the cloud. And amongst the technical constraints, there's obviously some client concerns. I think we talked about it quite a bit at the last cloud event, and I know Ben's talked about this in his paper too. The number one barrier at the moment, no surprises, it's security, and that's all about how secure is my data on the infrastructure, and it's also around the supporting operational processes with regards to managing that service. There's other concerns too around the maturity of cloud technology, compliance results, financial. So, for my 2 cents, what a client should be looking for from a cloud service provider is around service availability. Is it available when you need it? Security, security, security. How secure is your data on the grid, being stored in the virtual environment, and how secure are the processes surrounding that process, and how comfortable do you feel about a company running your workload in that virtual environment? Data integrity, is it intact? Is it kept accurate? Is it really available? And the provider viability. There's plenty of choices out there in the marketplace to procure cloud services. But will those vendors still be around in 3 or 5 years' time? You need to think about too. So there's a lot of choice out there in the marketplace. My recommendation is, once you've decided to take a workload into the cloud, let's say a backup environment into the cloud, You need to then be talking about the vendors that you have got on your selected set, about the process to take that workload into the cloud. And what I'm going to suggest here, in line with benchmark practices around the world, that should be part of a structured framework. Now, what I'm suggesting here is a 4-step process, all around understanding the current environment, your current infrastructure. How are you currently backing up your data? How is it currently stored, for example? What are the constraints? What are the bottlenecks around that? Then it's about what are your IT goals? And this is, then comes into, does it become relevant that you're looking for a dedicated cloud, or you're looking for a multi-tenanted cloud, or a private cloud, or a public cloud option? Then you work closely with the cloud service provider about producing a plan, an implementation plan to take you from the current environment and take that current workload into the cloud area. And that could be for a medium to larger size business, that could take a couple, 3 to 4 months potentially, taking the easier services that are quite ready to take to the cloud. And then there might be some servers that might need some patching, the OS level, some work on the hardware before you can take that into the cloud. So just to really wrap this up, from an infrastructure, in terms of moving your infrastructure into the cloud, it's more than just hype, it's a reality out there. And there are a number of choices out there for clients in the marketplace. From a service provider perspective, service providers are making investments in partnership with the vendors out there, typically focus on backup storage and virtual computing. But there are some constraints, and that's around the technology and the supporting processes too, and overcoming and answering the common client queries around security, around maturity, and selecting the right processes to take to the cloud. And what I'm recommending there is, once you've made that decision, you want to take a process to the cloud, to sit down in collaboration with your partner and to clearly map out a process that considers your current environment and the current state there and your IT objectives. Thanks for your time.